Commander Sarah Chen floated through the quiet corridors of Europa Station. Her daily patrol almost complete, the massive space station orbited Jupiter's ice moon. Serving as humanity's furthest outpost in the solar system, Sarah had been stationed here for 3 years, watching over the mining operations and protecting Earth's interests in the outer system. The alarm bells suddenly shattered the peaceful silence. Red lights flashed throughout the station as the emergency system activated. Sarah pushed off the nearest wall and glided quickly toward the command center, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor as she landed. "Report," she called out as she entered the bustling control room. Lieutenant Rodriguez turned from his console, his face pale with concern. "Commander, we've detected an unknown vessel approaching from the outer system. It's badly damaged and drifting. No response to our communication attempts." Sarah moved to the main display screen and studied the image of the strange ship. It was unlike anything in Earth's databases. The vessel had an organic appearance, with smooth curves and a dark purple hull that seemed to shimmer even in the cold vacuum of space. Holes were torn through its sides, and debris floated around it like a cloud of metallic snow. "Life signs?" Sarah asked. "Faint readings, Commander. Maybe 1 or 2 survivors. But the signals are weak." Sarah made her decision quickly. "Prepare a rescue shuttle. I'm going aboard that ship." "Commander, shouldn't we wait for backup from Earth?" "We don't know what's out there." Sarah shook her head. "If there are survivors, they don't have time to wait. Besides, if this ship wanted to attack us, it would have done so already." 20 minutes later, Sarah piloted her small rescue shuttle toward the alien vessel. As she got closer, she could see the full extent of the damage. Whatever had attacked this ship had been thorough and brutal. Blast marks covered the hull, and entire sections had been torn away. She found an intact docking port and carefully connected her shuttle, the airlock sealed with a soft hiss, and Sarah checked her equipment one final time. Her protective suit was fully charged, her medical kit was ready, and her sidearm was secured but easily accessible. The alien ship's interior was dark and filled with a thick, breathable atmosphere. Sarah activated her helmet lights and stepped inside. The corridors were wider than human ships, with high ceilings that curved overhead. Strange symbols glowed dimly along the walls, providing just enough light to see. Sarah followed the life sign readings deeper into the ship. She passed through several chambers filled with advanced technology she couldn't understand. Crystals hummed with energy, and screens displayed information in an alien language that seemed to shift and change as she watched. The sound of labored breathing led her to what appeared to be the ship's bridge. 3 alien bodies lay motionless on the floor, their purple skin now gray and lifeless. But in the center of the room, propped against a large command chair, sat a 4th alien who was still alive. Sarah approached carefully, her hands visible and empty. The alien was tall and thin. Even while sitting, its skin was a deep purple color, and its large eyes reflected her helmet lights like mirrors. The creature's breathing was shallow and wet, and dark fluid leaked from several wounds across its body. "Can you understand me?" Sarah asked softly. The alien's head turned toward her slowly. When it spoke, its voice was melodious but weak, and somehow Sarah found that she could understand the words as if they were spoken in English. "Human," the alien whispered. "I did not expect to see one of your kind so far from your homeworld." Sarah knelt down beside the wounded creature, setting her medical kit on the floor. "My name is Sarah Chen. I'm here to help you." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter, but it turned into a painful cough. "Help? Your species is barely beginning to reach beyond your own star. What help could you possibly offer one of the Zephyrian people?" "Medical aid, for starters," Sarah replied, scanning the alien with her medical equipment. The readings were confusing, but it was clear that the creature was dying from multiple serious injuries. "My name is Kethver," the alien said, his voice growing weaker. I was the last survivor of the research vessel Mineweaver. We came to this system to study your people from a distance, but we were attacked by the Empire's hunters." Sarah frowned. "Your own people attacked you?" Kethver's large eyes closed for a moment. I chose to study humans instead of conquering them. The Empress considers this treason. She sent her best warriors to bring me back for punishment. As Sarah worked with her medical supplies, she realized that nothing in her kit was designed for alien biology. She could slow the bleeding, but she couldn't save him. Kefir seemed to understand this as well. Human Sarah, he said, reaching out with one long, thin hand. I'm going to die. This much is certain, but I can choose how I die. Sarah took his hand gently. His skin was surprisingly warm. What do you mean? My people die slowly from wounds like these. It is painful and takes many hours. But you could end my suffering quickly. It would be a mercy I do not deserve. Sarah felt her heart ache. For this dying creature, you're wrong. Everyone deserves mercy. Kefir's eyes widened with surprise. Even an enemy? Even one whose people may one day threaten yours. You're not my enemy, Sarah said firmly. You're someone who's hurt and scared and far from home. That makes you someone who needs help. For a long moment, Kefir stared at her in wonder. Remarkable. My people have studied thousands of species across the galaxy, but I have never encountered compassion like this. It is beautiful. Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes. Is there anything I can do to make you more comfortable? Kefir was quiet for several minutes, his breathing becoming more labored. Finally, he spoke again. There is something, a gift I can give you, if you will accept it. But it requires trust between us. What kind of gift? A child, Kefir whispered. Not in the way your species reproduces, but through our psychic abilities. A child that will carry the best qualities of both our peoples. She will have our mental powers, but also your capacity for love and mercy. Sarah blinked in confusion. I don't understand. How is that possible? Our science is far beyond yours. In some ways, I can transfer a part of my life essence to you before I die. It will grow within you and become a new being. She will be your daughter in every way that matters, but she will also carry the knowledge and abilities of my people. Sarah hesitated. Why would you do this? Kefir smiled weakly. Because I have seen what your compassion can do. My people rule through fear and power, but you offer mercy to a dying stranger. Imagine what a child with our abilities and your heart could accomplish. Sarah looked into his fading eyes and saw desperate hope. Will it hurt you? No more than I already hurt. Please, Sarah Chen, let me give this gift to the galaxy. Let me create something beautiful before I die. Sarah squeezed his hand gently. Yes, I accept your gift. Kefir's eyes glowed with a soft blue light, and Sarah felt a warm sensation flow through their joined hands. The alien's breathing grew peaceful, and a smile crossed his face. Thank you, he whispered. Her name will be Arya. She will bring harmony to the stars. With those words, Kefir closed his eyes for the final time, and Sarah felt something new and wonderful beginning to grow within her. 3 months had passed since Sarah's encounter with Kefir aboard the alien ship. The mysterious pregnancy had progressed at an incredible rate, far faster than any human pregnancy should. Dr. Martinez, Europa Station's chief medical officer, monitored Sarah's condition with growing amazement and concern. Commander, your baby's development is unlike anything in medical literature, Dr. Martinez said, studying the latest scan results. She's growing at 3 times the normal rate, but all her vital signs are perfect. Better than perfect, actually. Sarah placed her hand on her rounded belly, feeling the gentle movements inside. She's special, doctor. I can sense it. What Sarah didn't tell the doctor was that she could feel something else too. Sometimes, late at night, she experienced brief flashes of images and emotions that weren't her own. Vast star fields, ancient cities with purple spires, and a deep sadness mixed with hope. She knew these were memories from Kefir, somehow. Passed along with his gift, the baby was born on a quiet Tuesday morning. Sarah held her breath as Dr. Martinez lifted the newborn, expecting to see some obvious alien features. But little Arya looked completely human, with Sarah's dark hair and small, perfect features. The only unusual thing was her eyes. They were a striking violet color that seemed to shimmer with inner light. She's beautiful, Sarah, Dr. Martinez whispered, placing the baby in her mother's arms. As soon as Arya touched her mother's skin, Sarah felt a wave of pure love and contentment wash over her. But it wasn't just her own emotions. She could feel the baby's feelings too, as if they were connected by an invisible thread. Over the following weeks, it became clear that Arya was no ordinary child. She rarely cried, instead making soft musical sounds that seemed to calm everyone around her. She grew quickly, reaching developmental milestones weeks ahead of schedule. By her first month, she was already holding her head up and following objects with her remarkable violet eyes. But the most extraordinary thing happened when Arya was 6 weeks old. Sarah was feeding her in the station's observation deck, looking out at Jupiter's swirling clouds, when suddenly every piece of equipment in the room began to float. Coffee cups drifted away from tables, data tablets hovered in midair, and even Sarah's chair lifted slightly off the ground. "What in the world?" Sarah gasped, holding Arya tighter. The baby looked up at her mother with wide, innocent eyes, making happy gurgling sounds. As soon as Sarah began to laugh at the impossible sight, everything gently settled back into place. "You did that, didn't you, little one?" Sarah whispered, kissing Arya's forehead. Dr. Martinez was fascinated when Sarah told him about the incident. They began careful tests, always making sure Arya was comfortable and safe. They discovered that the baby could indeed manipulate gravity around small objects, but only when she was happy and relaxed. When she was upset or tired, the ability seemed to disappear completely. More interesting was Arya's apparent ability to sense emotions. She would become fussy whenever someone nearby was angry or sad, but would immediately calm down when they felt better. It was as if she could feel what others were feeling. "She's empathic," Dr. Martinez explained to Sarah, "but not just sensitive to emotions. She seems to want to help people feel better." This became clear when engineer Thompson injured his hand in the machine shop. He was in terrible pain, but the moment Arya saw him, she reached out her tiny hands toward him. Thompson felt his pain begin to fade, replaced by a warm, comforting sensation. "I don't understand it," Thompson told Sarah later. "It was like she absorbed my hurt and gave me peace instead." As news of Arya's abilities spread quietly among the station's crew, something else was happening in the depths of space, far beyond the solar system, in a region of space dominated by purple-hulled warships. Empress Veltara of the Zephyrian Empire received a report that made her ancient blood run cold. "You're certain of this?" she demanded, her psychic voice echoing in the minds of her commanders. "Yes, Your Majesty," replied Admiral Zethkal. "Our deep space sensors detected the psychic signature of Kefra's final moments. He performed the bonding ritual with a human female. The hybrid child has been born." Empress Veltara's eyes blazed with purple fire. In her 1,000 years of rule, no Zephyrian had ever dared to share their genetic legacy with an inferior species. The very idea was an insult to everything the Empire stood for. "Prepare the Fourth Fleet," she commanded. "We will retrieve this abomination and eliminate the human who corrupted one of our own." "Your Majesty, should we not study the hybrid first? It might possess useful abilities." The Empress's psychic fury lashed out, sending the Admiral staggering backward. "The only useful thing about this creature will be its destruction. No mongrel offspring will be allowed to dilute the purity of Zephyrian blood." Meanwhile, back on Europa Station, Sarah was experiencing her own concerns. Arya was now 3 months old, but looked and acted like a 6-month-old human baby. She could sit up on her own, play with simple toys, and most remarkably, she had begun to communicate in ways that went beyond normal baby sounds. When Arya wanted something, Sarah would suddenly know exactly what it was. When the baby was content, everyone around her felt happier. It was clear that her psychic abilities were growing stronger. Each day, "Sarah," Dr. Martinez said during one of their regular checkups, "I think you need to contact Earth Command. Arya's abilities are beyond anything we can handle here if they continue to develop at this rate." Sarah held her daughter close, feeling protective instincts she'd never experienced before. What if they want to take her away? What if they want to study her like a laboratory specimen? You're her mother. They can't just take her. But they Need to know what we're dealing with here. That night, as Sarah sat in her quarters feeding Arya, she made her decision. She would contact Earth Command, but she would make it clear that her daughter was not some experiment to be poked and prodded. Arya was a little girl who happened to have special gifts. As if sensing her mother's thoughts, Arya looked up with her violet eyes and made a soft sound that somehow conveyed comfort and agreement. Sarah smiled, marveling at how this tiny being could communicate so much without words. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together, Sarah whispered. High above them, invisible to human sensors, a small Zephyrian scout ship had just entered the outer solar system. The Empire had come to claim what they believed was theirs, not knowing that the child they sought to destroy had already begun to change the hearts of everyone around her. The real test was about to begin. The purple ships appeared without warning in Earth's outer solar system. Admiral Jackson, commanding the defense station on Mars, watched his screens in disbelief as 12 massive alien vessels dropped out of hyperspace near Neptune's orbit. Sir, they're not responding to any of our communications, reported Lieutenant Foster, but we're detecting massive energy readings from their hulls. Admiral Jackson had received the classified reports about the alien child on Europa's station just days before. Now it seemed that child's importance was becoming tragically clear. Send an emergency message to all colonies and stations, he ordered. Unknown hostile force approaching. All civilians to emergency shelters immediately. Aboard the lead Zephyrian warship, Empress Veltara stood before a massive viewing screen showing the small blue planet ahead. Her psychic senses could feel the presence of billions of human minds, all so simple and unguarded compared to her own people. Begin the demonstration, she commanded coldly. Show these primitives what happens when they interfere with Zephyrian affairs. The alien ships spread out across the solar system with impossible speed. One appeared near the mining colony on Ceres, another near the research station orbiting Saturn. Within minutes, the Zephyrians began their psychological attack on Ceres' colony. Families who had lived peacefully together for years suddenly turned on each other. Husbands accused wives of terrible betrayals. Children hid in fear as their parents' faces twisted with unexplained rage. The Zephyrian mind control was subtle but devastating, turning love into suspicion and trust into hatred. Dr. Williams, the colony's administrator, found himself glaring at his assistant of 10 years. You've been stealing from the supply shipments, haven't you, Marcus? He snarled. Though he had no reason to believe such a thing, Marcus backed away in confusion. Dr. Williams, what are you talking about? We've been friends for years. But the doctor's mind was no longer his own. The Zephyrian influence made every memory seem suspicious. Every friendship appeared false across the colony. Similar scenes played out as neighbors became enemies and families fell apart. On Europa Station, Sarah felt the psychic attack like a cold wind blowing through her mind. Suddenly, she found herself staring at baby Arya with unfamiliar emotions. Why had she trusted that dying alien? What if this child was some kind of weapon, designed to destroy humanity from within? No, Sarah whispered, shaking her head violently. These aren't my thoughts. 5-month-old Arya, who now had the awareness of a 2-year-old, looked up at her mother with frightened violet eyes. She could feel the terrible emotions trying to poison her mother's mind, and it scared her more than anything she had ever experienced. But then something remarkable happened. Instead of crying or becoming upset, Arya reached out with her developing psychic abilities. She touched her mother's mind gently, not to control or manipulate, but to remind Sarah of the truth. The warm memories of feeding times, bedtime stories, and quiet moments of love they had shared. Sarah's eyes cleared as the alien influence faded. Arya, she breathed, picking up her daughter. You saved me. The baby made a soft cooing sound and pressed her small hand against her mother's cheek. Through their connection, Sarah could feel Arya's determination to protect not just her, but everyone on the station. You want to help them, don't you? Sarah asked. Arya's response came not in words but in pure emotion. Overwhelming desire to heal the hurt she could sense all around them. Sarah made a decision that would change everything. Dr. Martinez, She called over the communication system. Bring everyone to the main observation deck. I think Arya can help them. Within minutes, the station's crew gathered in the large central chamber. Many of them were still struggling with the alien mind control, their faces showing confusion and anger that didn't belong to them. Engineer Thompson was arguing with his best friend. Communications Officer Park was accusing her colleagues of sabotage. Sarah stood in the center of the room, holding Arya in her arms. Listen to me, everyone. We're under psychic attack. These feelings of anger and suspicion aren't real. They're being forced into your minds. How can you be sure? Demanded Thompson, still glaring at his friend. Instead of answering with words, Sarah nodded to Arya. The little girl looked around the room with her violet eyes, taking in all the pain and confusion. Then, very gently, she began to project her own emotions outward. It started as a warm feeling, like sunlight on a cold day. The crew members felt their artificial anger beginning to fade, replaced by memories of why they cared about each other. Thompson remembered all the times his friend had helped him with difficult repairs. Officer Park recalled the birthday party her colleagues had thrown for her just last month. But Arya did more than just push away the negative emotions. She helped each person strengthen their own mental defenses, showing them how to recognize foreign thoughts and reject them. It was like she was teaching them to build walls around their minds. Walls made of love and trust instead of fear. Incredible, whispered Dr. Martinez as he felt his own mind clear completely. She's not controlling us. She's showing us how to control ourselves. The psychic healing spread throughout the station. People embraced friends they had been ready to fight just minutes before. Families reunited with tears of relief, and in the center of it all, little Arya glowed with a soft violet light that seemed to strengthen everyone around her. But the child's efforts had not gone unnoticed. Aboard her flagship, Empress Veltara felt the disruption in her carefully crafted attack. One small area of space was no longer under her control. What is causing this interference? She demanded. Her advisors worked frantically at their control panels. It appears to be coming from the space station near Jupiter, Your Majesty. The hybrid child is somehow countering our psychic influence. The Empress's ancient face twisted with rage. Impossible. No infant should have such power. Increase the attack on that station. Break their minds completely. The psychic assault intensified, hitting Europa Station like a tsunami of hatred and despair. But now the crew was ready, using the techniques Arya had somehow taught them. They stood together and refused to let the alien emotions take hold. Sarah felt the attack, trying to convince her that Arya was a monster, that humanity would be better off without her. But she looked down at her daughter's innocent face and knew the truth. This child, who could have used her powers to control others, instead chose to heal and protect them. Your Majesty, Admiral Zethkal reported nervously, our psychic attacks are having no effect on the Jupiter station. If anything, their resistance is growing stronger. Empress Veltara's eyes blazed with purple fire. Then we will take the child by force. Prepare to attack the station directly. I want that abomination brought to me alive, but everyone else can be eliminated. On Europa Station, alarms began sounding as the alien ships changed course, heading directly toward them. Sarah held Arya close, knowing that their greatest test was yet to come. The Zephyrian warships surrounded Europa Station like predators circling their prey. Sarah stood in the command center, holding 2-year-old Arya, who had grown at an incredible rate over the past months. The child now looked and spoke like a human toddler, but her violet eyes held wisdom far beyond her apparent age. Mama, Arya said softly, her small hand touching Sarah's cheek. The purple people are very sad inside. They forgot how to be happy. Sarah kissed her daughter's forehead. Can you help them remember, sweetheart? Before Arya could answer, the communication system crackled to life. A cold, commanding voice filled the station. Humans of Europa Station, Empress Veltara announced. You harbor an abomination that belongs to the Zephyrian Empire. Surrender the hybrid child immediately, and your deaths will be swift. Refuse, and you will suffer beyond imagination. Admiral Jackson's voice came through from Mars Command, Europa. Station, this is Admiral Jackson. Earth's defense fleet is on its way, but we need time. Can you hold out? Sarah looked around at her crew. These people had become like family to her over the years. She wouldn't let them die for her daughter's sake. Admiral, she replied, we'll do what we can. But Arya had other plans. The remarkable child wiggled out of her mother's arms and walked to the communication panel. Standing on her tiptoes, she pressed the transmit button. Hello, Purple Lady, Arya said in her sweet, clear voice. My name is Arya. Why are you so angry? Aboard the flagship, Empress Veltara stared at the communication screen in shock. The voice was that of a very young child, innocent and curious. For a moment, something stirred in the ancient ruler's heart, a memory of her own childhood. Thousands of years ago, before power and conquest had consumed her life. You are the hybrid. The Empress said, her voice less cold than before. I'm Arya, the child repeated, and you're hurting a lot of people? That makes me sad. I am Empress Veltara, ruler of 1,000 worlds. I do not hurt. I maintain order. Arya tilted her head thoughtfully. But making people scared and angry isn't order. It's just more sadness. Would you like me to show you something better? Before anyone could stop her, Arya reached out with her psychic abilities. But instead of targeting just the Empress, her power spread across space, touching every Zephyrian ship in the fleet. However, she wasn't trying to control them. Instead, she was broadcasting something they had never experienced before: pure, unconditional love. On the Zephyrian ships, something extraordinary began to happen. Soldiers who had known only discipline and fear suddenly felt warmth in their hearts. They remembered childhoods before military training, dreams they had given up, friends they had lost to the Empire's endless wars. Commander Vextar, captain of one of the assault ships, found tears streaming down his purple face. What is happening to me? He whispered. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Merton, was experiencing the same strange emotions. Sir, I feel different, like I'm remembering who I used to be before we became soldiers. Across the fleet, similar scenes played out. The rigid discipline that held the Zephyrian military together began to crack as individual soldiers remembered their capacity for compassion and joy. But Arya's influence didn't stop there. Her psychic message began to spread beyond the fleet, carried by the quantum communication networks that connected the Zephyrian Empire. On distant worlds, slave races that had served their purple masters for centuries suddenly felt something they had thought was lost forever: hope. On the mining world of Kethmora, the reptilian saurians stopped their work and looked up at the sky. For the first time in generations, they dared to imagine freedom. On the agricultural planet Velnith, the insectoid hive minds began to question why they served beings who showed them no kindness in return. Throughout the Empire, a revolution of the heart was beginning. Empress Veltara felt the change spreading through her domain and panicked. Stop this, she screamed at the communication screen. You're destroying everything I've built. I'm not destroying anything, Arya replied gently. I'm just helping people remember that they can choose to be kind instead of mean. The Empress tried to reassert her psychic control over her fleet, but something had fundamentally changed. Her soldiers were no longer willing puppets. They had tasted compassion and found it far sweeter than conquest. Your Majesty, Admiral Zethkal said quietly, the slave worlds are beginning to rebel. Our garrison commanders report that their subjects are refusing to work. Some are even asking for friendship instead of fear. Impossible, Veltar raged. Order the fleet to destroy the station immediately. But when she gave the command, something unprecedented happened. Her captains refused to obey. I'm sorry, Your Majesty, Commander Vextar said over the fleet communication network. But I can't bring myself to hurt a child who showed me what it feels like to be happy again. One by one, the other ship commanders echoed his refusal. The mighty Zephyrian war fleet, which had conquered hundreds of worlds, found itself unable to fire on a single space station because a 2-year-old girl had reminded them of their capacity for love. Empress Veltara realized that her 1,000-year reign was crumbling around her. In desperation, she made a final, terrible decision. If my own fleet will not obey me, then I will handle this personally, she declared. Prepare my personal fighter. I will face this abomination myself. Sarah felt a chill as she watched the small, sleek ship separate from the flagship and raced toward Europa Station. Arya, you need to hide. The Empress is coming here herself. But Arya shook her head with the wisdom of someone far older than her apparent age. No, Mama. She needs help the most. She's been angry and scared for so long that she forgot how to be anything else. Sweetheart, she wants to hurt you. Arya looked up at her mother with eyes full of compassion. Then I need to show her that there's another way. As the Empress's ship docked with Europa Station, Sarah held her daughter close, knowing that the final confrontation was about to begin. Throughout the galaxy, freed slaves and reformed soldiers watched and waited, their hopes resting on the small shoulders of a child who believed that even the darkest heart could be healed with love. The revolution Arya had started with her simple message of compassion was spreading like wildfire across the stars. But first, she would have to face the source of all that darkness, an ancient ruler who had forgotten what it meant to be anything other than afraid. Empress Veltara strode through the corridors of Europa Station like a force of nature. Her purple robes flowed behind her as she followed the psychic signature of the child, who had destroyed her empire in a matter of hours. The station's crew wisely stayed out of her path, sensing the dangerous energy that surrounded the ancient ruler. She found them in the observation lounge, the human woman sitting calmly in a chair, and the small child standing beside her, violet eyes bright with curiosity rather than fear. Veltara had expected to feel rage when she finally saw the hybrid, but instead, she felt something she hadn't experienced in centuries, uncertainty. So, the Empress said, her voice echoing with psychic power, "You are the abomination that has poisoned my empire with weakness." Arya stepped forward, showing no fear of the towering alien ruler. "I'm not an abomination. I'm Arya, and I didn't poison anything. I just help people remember that being kind feels better than being mean." Veltara's eyes blazed with purple fire. "Kind? I have ruled for 1,000 years through strength and order. Your kindness has turned my soldiers into crying children, and my slaves into rebels. Maybe they were tired of being scared all the time." Arya replied gently, "When people are happy, they work better and live better. Don't you want your people to be happy?" The Empress laughed bitterly. "Happiness is an illusion, child. Power is the only truth in this universe. Those strong enough to take it deserve to rule, those too weak to resist." Arya looked sad for a moment, and Veltara felt that sadness wash over her like a tide. "Is that what someone told you when you were little? That you had to be strong and scary to be important?" For just an instant, Veltara's ancient facade cracked. A memory surfaced from the depths of her mind, herself as a young Zephyrian child, crying as her tutors taught her that mercy was weakness, that compassion was failure. Silence. She roared, pushing the memory away. "I did not come here for your primitive psychology. I came to end this threat to the natural order." The Empress raised her hands, and purple energy began to swirl around them. The psychic power she had accumulated over centuries of conquest gathered into a weapon, capable of destroying minds. But as she prepared to strike, something unexpected happened. Instead of running or calling for help, Arya simply walked closer to her. The child reached up with her small hands, not to attack or defend, but to offer a hug. "I can feel how lonely you are," Arya said softly. "You've been angry for so long that you forgot there are other ways to feel. But it's not too late to remember." Veltara hesitated, her psychic weapon wavering. What are you doing?" "Showing you what my daddy taught me before he died," Arya replied. "That even when someone is being mean, they might just be scared or hurt inside. And sometimes, all they need is for someone to care about them." The child's hands touched the Empress's robes, and suddenly Veltara was overwhelmed by sensations she had forgotten existed. Warmth, acceptance, love without conditions or demands for power in return. She saw herself not as others saw her, a terrifying ruler, but as a frightened being who had armored herself in cruelty to hide her pain. "No," Veltara whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. "This is not. I cannot." "It's okay to be scared," Arya said, hugging the ancient ruler's legs. "Everyone gets scared sometimes, but you don't have to stay scared forever." Through their physical contact, Arya began to share her memories with the Empress. Veltara experienced Sarah's gentle lullabies, the warmth of being held when afraid, the joy of learning new things without fear of punishment for mistakes. She felt what it was like to be loved simply for existing, not for being strong or useful. The psychic weapon in Veltara as hands flickered and died. Tears began to flow down her purple cheeks, the first tears she had shed in over 800 years. "What have I become?" she whispered, looking at her hands as if seeing them for the first time. "What have I done to my people?" Sarah stood up slowly, watching this incredible transformation. "It's never too late to choose a different path," she said gently. "Arya taught me that." Veltara knelt down to Arya's level, her ancient eyes wide with wonder and remorse. "Child, Arya, I have caused so much suffering. How can there be forgiveness for someone like me?" Arya smiled, the same bright smile she gave her mother every morning. "Because everyone deserves a chance to be better. That's what makes life beautiful." The Empress felt something break inside her chest, not something painful, but something that had been holding her prisoner for centuries. The armor of cruelty and fear that she had built around her heart finally cracked open, revealing the frightened child she had once been. I don't know how to be anything other than what I am," she admitted. "That's okay," Arya said. "You can learn. I'll help you, and so will everyone else. That's what friends do." Over the following days, the transformation of the Zephyrian Empire accelerated, with their empress no longer demanding conquest and cruelty. The fleet commanders began working with the freed slave worlds to establish new governments. Based on cooperation rather than domination, Commander Vextar became an ambassador, helping former slave races learn to govern themselves. The Saurians of Kethmora formed a council that included both their own people and sympathetic Zephyrians. The insectoid hive minds began sharing their advanced agricultural techniques freely. No longer forced to work in secret, Veltara herself underwent the most dramatic change of all. Under Arya's patient guidance, she learned to use her vast psychic abilities for healing rather than control. She traveled from world to world, personally apologizing to the people she had oppressed and offering to help repair the damage she had caused. "I cannot undo the centuries of pain I have inflicted," she told the assembled leaders of 100 worlds during the First Galactic Peace Conference. "But I can spend the rest of my life trying to build something better." Arya, now physically 5 years old but wise beyond measure, stood beside the former Empress as she spoke. The child had become not a ruler, but a teacher, showing beings across the galaxy that strength could be gentle and power could be used to lift others up, rather than tear them down. Sarah watched from the audience, her heart swelling with pride. Her daughter had done what armies and weapons could never accomplish. She had changed hearts. The galaxy was still healing from centuries of oppression, but for the first time in generations, there was genuine hope for peace. As the conference concluded and delegates from dozens of species mingled freely, sharing stories and making new friendships, Sarah realized that Kethver's final gift had been even greater than he had imagined. Arya hadn't just inherited the best of both species. She had shown everyone that the best qualities of any people could triumph over the worst. The child who had been born from an alien's dying act of mercy had grown up to teach the galaxy that mercy was the greatest power of all.